A few months back, I operated on a 67-year-old gentleman whose blood vessels felt like solid cement. He was taking 4 different blood pressure prescriptions, 4 of them, yet his numbers remained dangerously elevated. He wasn't slacking off. He wasn't neglecting his body. He followed every piece of advice his physicians gave him. Still, he ended up in my operating room. But there is a crucial piece of the puzzle no one shared with him, and it is exactly what I am going to share with you right now. The solution was hiding in his kitchen the whole time. 5 straightforward habits. No extra pills to swallow, no adverse reactions to worry about, simply utilizing food. Using nutrition the way it was originally intended. Keep watching, because by the time this video is over, you will have a clear blueprint of what to do, starting this very evening. Let me share a reality that rarely gets discussed during a standard clinic visit. Once you cross 60, your blood pressure does not simply rise due to stress or eating too many salty snacks. There is a more profound shift occurring within your blood vessel walls. Imagine your arteries as a rubber garden hose. In your youth, that hose is supple. It expands. It easily manages the water pressure. It accommodates the rush of fluid. However, as the decades pass, those inner linings begin to harden. They forfeit their natural stretch, and a stiffened tube simply cannot manage the same internal force that a pliable one can. That is the moment the problems begin. This is deeply personal to my life's work. For 3 decades, I have been working as a heart surgeon. I have literally held beating human hearts. I have bypassed arteries that looked decades older than the patient lying in front of me. And with every single case, I ponder the exact same thing. How did the damage get this severe? The culprit, more frequently than anything else, is inflammation. A constant, hidden, smoldering inflammation embedded in the lining of your circulatory system. You cannot feel it happening. It produces no glaring warning signs. Yet day after day, decade after decade, it steadily stiffens and constricts those pathways. Consequently, your heart is forced to pump with increasing ferocity just to circulate blood throughout your body. So why does your diet play such a monumental role? Because whatever you consume for breakfast, lunch, and dinner is either fighting that internal fire or throwing gasoline on it. Each plate of food is a direct command to your body regarding your blood pressure. The majority of folks remain entirely unaware, and frankly, general practitioners rarely have the appointment time to break this down. That is the core purpose of this discussion. We are not talking about abandoning your current prescriptions. I need to be perfectly straightforward about that. Rather, we are arming your body with 5 potent tactics that synergize perfectly with your doctor's orders. Tactics that, in my own observation, can yield astonishing improvements, occasionally in a matter of days. Are you prepared? Let us dive in. Let me pose a simple scenario. When you settle in for your evening meal tonight, what is the first thing your fork goes into? For a vast majority of us, it is the dinner roll, the mashed potatoes, or perhaps just whatever happens to be closest to our dominant hand. I am going to challenge you to shift that habit, a shift that probably sounds way too basic to yield real results. Consume your vegetables before you touch a single other item on your plate. At every solitary meal, I can sense your hesitation. You are wondering if that is truly my grand revelation. Just listen for a moment. When you eat your greens and veggies first, the dietary fiber creates a sort of physical netting within your stomach, an actual barrier. The function of that mesh barrier is nothing short of incredible. It drastically delays the speed at which glucose from the remainder of your meal crosses into your bloodstream. Why is that relevant to hypertension? Because every single time your blood sugar rockets upward following a big meal, your pancreas dumps a massive wave of insulin. That sudden spike of insulin triggers your blood vessels to clamp down and narrow. While you are still sitting there chewing, your internal pressure is climbing, and you are completely oblivious to the reaction. I have treated individuals who altered nothing else. They ate the exact same recipes, the exact same quantities, and took the identical medications, but they just flipped the sequence. Vegetables first, meats or proteins second, starches and carbs dead last. Their post-dinner blood pressure readings plummeted noticeably in just a couple of weeks. A former patient of mine, a 71-year-old retired school teacher, described it as the most effortless health adjustment she had ever made. She was absolutely correct. Therefore, this evening, before you grab that slice of bread or scoop of rice, clear those vegetables off your plate. Every single forkful matters. Let us move on to the second item. The humble bottle of apple cider vinegar tucked away in your pantry, perhaps gathering dust. Just 1 or 2 tablespoons mixed into a large glass of water alongside every meal. That is the entire protocol. I can hear the skepticism already. And frankly, that is a good thing. A healthy dose of skepticism stops us from buying into internet fads. But let me break down the actual science here, because it is incredibly solid. The key component in apple cider vinegar is acetic acid. This acid tackles your blood pressure from two distinct angles. Number one, it boosts how sensitive you are to insulin. You know those post-meal blood sugar surges that squeeze your arteries? Acetic acid smooths out that spike. Your cells respond to insulin much better, meaning your body does not need to pump out nearly as much of it. Lower insulin levels equal less vascular squeezing, which naturally means lower pressure. Number two, and this is what genuinely fascinated me when I first dug into the literature, acetic acid encourages your blood vessel linings to produce nitric oxide. Nitric oxide acts as your body's built-in vasodilator. It commands your arteries to loosen and expand. It is practically mirroring what an entire category of pharmaceutical drugs attempts to achieve, but it does it organically, for a few bucks a bottle. A strict word of warning, though. Do not drink it straight. Always dilute it into at least 8 ounces of water and use a straw if possible, as pure vinegar is tough on your tooth enamel and esophagus. And if you battle acid reflux or have a history of stomach ulcers, have a chat with your physician first. But for the vast majority of folks over 60, this is an incredibly safe, easy habit. 1 glass with breakfast, 1 at midday, 1 at dinner. Try it for 3 weeks and monitor your numbers. Have you ever experimented with apple cider vinegar? Drop a comment and tell me what you have heard about it, or what surprised you when you tried it. Let me pose another question. Do you take your blood pressure readings first thing in the morning? Most of us do, but hardly anyone discusses what your blood pressure is doing while you are fast asleep. For a lot of people in their 60s and beyond, their pressure does not dip the way it is biologically supposed to overnight. It needs to drop to give your heart muscle a rest. But with a silent issue known as nocturnal hypertension, those numbers remain elevated or even spike. While you are resting peacefully, totally oblivious, your heart is pulling a double shift. Your vascular system is under heavy strain, and you wake up feeling exhausted, wondering why. Nocturnal hypertension is a highly dangerous, frequently missed pattern. It drastically increases your chances of a heart attack or stroke. And the troubling part is this: your normal daytime checks will completely miss it. You might boast pristine morning numbers while harboring a severe issue night after night. So, how do walnuts fit into this picture? Immensely, as it turns out. Consuming roughly 30 grams, which is about 14 walnut halves, half an hour before you go to sleep, has been proven in numerous trials to significantly lower nighttime blood pressure. Here's the reason. Walnuts happen to be one of the densest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid, a crucial plant-based omega-3 fat. They also deliver melatonin and a compound called L-arginine. In synergy, these elements soothe your blood vessel walls, decrease vascular swelling, and promote that essential nighttime pressure dip your body craves. Consider it a biological signal to your circulatory system. It is time to power down. 30 grams, 14 halves, 30 minutes before you sleep. Jot that down. It is an incredibly basic recommendation, yet remarkably consistent in its effectiveness. Next, let us discuss a simple flower. A vivid red bloom utilized in traditional healing practices throughout Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America for centuries, which modern cardiology has finally validated. Hibiscus tea. 3 servings a day. You might recognize it by other names like sorrel, carcade, or simply red tea. It carries a tangy cranberry-like taste, and its potency is astounding. Let's look at the mechanism. Hibiscus petals hold specific organic acids and compounds called anthocyanins. These elements interact with your blood vessels almost identically to a widely used class of prescription drugs known as ACE inhibitors. You are likely familiar with ACE inhibitors. They are incredibly common blood pressure medications globally. Their job is to block an enzyme that forces your arteries to constrict. Hibiscus achieves this exact same blocking effect naturally, without the persistent dry cough that drives so many patients crazy when taking the pharmaceutical version. A clinical study published in the Journal of Nutrition revealed that consuming hibiscus tea daily slashed systolic blood pressure by an average of 7 points in adults with slightly elevated numbers. 7 points is clinically massive. That is the exact type of outcome that makes medical professionals take notice. 3 cups daily, enjoyed hot or iced. Keep the sugar out of it, or keep it to an absolute minimum, because added sugar will just sabotage all the good we are trying to do here. A tiny spoonful of honey is perfectly acceptable if you need it. A vital caveat here: if you are currently taking a prescription ACE inhibitor, you must consult your doctor before making hibiscus tea a daily staple. Mixing a natural inhibitor with a medicinal one can drive your pressure dangerously low, and we absolutely do not want an overcorrection. We want balance. But for most, this is an elegant, highly enjoyable daily habit. A warm mug in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 1 at night. Your arteries will notice the difference. What kind of tea is your go-to right now? Let me know down below. I am genuinely curious how many of you are already protecting your heart without even realizing it. When this video finishes, I want you to head into your kitchen, open up your cupboards, and check what cooking oils are sitting on your shelf. Because what I am going to share next could be the single most crucial takeaway of this entire presentation. And ironically, it is the exact thing massive food manufacturers have spent a fortune trying to keep you from understanding. The majority of the standard cooking oils lining grocery store aisles like soybean, corn, sunflower, and canola oil are massively overloaded with omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6 is not inherently evil. Your body does require a small amount of it. The disaster lies in the ratio. Throughout human history, people consumed roughly equal amounts of omega-3 and omega-6 fats. Fast forward to today, and the average person is eating 15 to 20 times more omega-6 than omega-3. 15 to 20 times. That radical imbalance fuels the exact condition every heart surgeon loses sleep over: chronic systemic inflammation. Remember that smoldering fire in your arterial walls we covered earlier? The kind that slowly turns your vessels rigid year after year? The massive surplus of omega-6 from these highly processed oils is the primary kindling feeding that fire. Every single time you cook with soybean or canola oil, you are injecting inflammation directly into your cardiovascular system. And it gets worse. These oils are highly unstable under heat. Once they hit cooking temperatures, they oxidize, breaking down into toxic compounds known as aldehydes, which directly injure the inner lining of your blood vessels. You cannot see it happening. Your meal tastes perfectly fine, yet the microscopic damage accumulates with every single bite. So, what is the alternative? Two simple swaps. First, extra virgin olive oil for any cooking that does not involve blazing high temperatures. Light sauté, tossing vegetables, making salad dressings. Extra virgin olive oil is loaded with oleocanthal, a potent natural anti-inflammatory, along with monounsaturated fats that actively promote arterial health. Decades of rigorous research back this up without debate. And for those higher heat scenarios, real honest butter. Yes, you heard me correctly. Butter, absolutely not margarine. Margarine is formulated from those exact same disastrous vegetable oils we are desperately trying to eliminate. Genuine traditional butter, ideally from grass-fed cows. When utilized in sensible portions, it is infinitely better for your vascular health than the heavily processed seed oils millions of people cook with every single day. I realize this directly contradicts the "butter is bad, use vegetable oil" messaging pounded into our heads 20 or 30 years ago. I heard those exact same lectures, but medical science has evolved. And as a cardiac surgeon who has physically looked inside thousands of human chests, the biological evidence now points firmly in a different direction. Take a look in your cabinets tonight. If you spot canola or soybean oil, you do not need to toss it in the trash immediately. Just refuse to buy it again when the bottle runs empty. Swap it out for extra virgin olive oil. Over the course of 3 to 6 months, that singular adjustment alone can create a highly measurable drop in your inflammatory markers and your resting blood pressure. Let me pause right here for a moment because there is something crucial we need to address. We have just gone over 5 separate actions, and I can perfectly anticipate what is crossing some of your minds at this exact second. This all seems way too elementary. If it were truly effective, my physician would have already brought it up. I completely validate that skepticism. I felt the exact same way during the early days of my medical career. However, this is the reality 30 years of cracking chests and mending failing hearts has instilled in me. The most profound medical interventions are rarely the most complex ones. Your physical body is not craving complication. It is simply waiting for the proper environment to begin repairing itself. And here is the fact that continues to astound me to this day. Every last one of these 5 methods operates via the exact same core mechanism, dialing down internal inflammation and restoring elasticity to your blood vessels. That is the entire secret. 5 distinct pathways that all arrive at the exact same destination. Think back to the gentleman I mentioned at the very start, the 67-year-old with the cement-like arteries. Following his operation, I sat down with him and his spouse for quite a while. We discussed every bit of this, all 5 of these steps. He implemented each shift gradually, working carefully alongside his own cardiologist. Half a year later, he returned for his routine check-in. His primary doctor had successfully halved his prescriptions, bringing him from 4 medications down to 2. His systemic inflammation scores had plummeted. His resting pressure was steady, truly steady, for the first time in a decade. He appeared 10 years younger, and the very first phrase out of his mouth when he entered the room was this: Why did no one explain this to me earlier? That specific question haunts me. It is the driving force behind why I produce these videos, because the knowledge is out there. The clinical research is published. Yet somehow, in the journey from the science lab to the local clinic to the patient sitting at their dining room table, the message disappears. You are sitting at that table right now, and you possess all the tools necessary to begin this evening. Not next week, not following your next annual physical. Tonight, that is no minor detail. That is the entire ballgame. Let us summarize this, because I refuse to let you click away from this video with a mental list you will inevitably forget by morning. 5 tools, 5 adjustments. Let me reiterate them as clearly as possible. Number 1, consume your vegetables first at every single meal, prior to the starches, before the grains, before anything else. Number 2, mix 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar into a tall glass of water alongside those meals. Number 3, enjoy 30 grams of walnuts, which is roughly 14 halves, half an hour prior to turning in for the night. Number 4, drink 3 cups of hibiscus tea daily, whether iced or hot, keeping sugar out of it entirely. Number 5, swap out your industrial seed oils for high-quality extra virgin olive oil and genuine butter. That is all. 5 adjustments. No bizarre pills, no pricey gadgets, nothing that demands a doctor's slip. Now, here is my direct challenge to you before you click off this screen. Select just one. Do not attempt all 5. Pick the single one that seems the most manageable for you to do today. Perhaps it is eating the greens first. Perhaps it is buying some red tea online. Or maybe it is just auditing your pantry oils. Pick one and start, because long-lasting transformation never stems from overhauling your life overnight and quitting a week later. It grows from a single tiny choice. You repeat it relentlessly until it becomes automatic, until it is simply part of who you are. I have witnessed this succeed, not just on paper, but in actual human beings in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who chose to believe it was not too late to supply their bodies with superior materials. It is never beyond hope. Your circulatory system is incredibly resilient. Provide it with the correct atmosphere, and it will heal. I am eager to hear which of these 5 steps you plan to tackle first. Drop your choice in the comments below as I personally read through them. If you found value here or know someone who desperately needs to hear this, please pass this video along. There are folks in your inner circle right this second who require this exact knowledge and are entirely in the dark. And if you have not hit that subscribe button yet, I invite you to join us. Each week, I deliver straightforward, scientifically backed medical insights that I wish all my patients knew before they ever needed my scalpel. Look after your heart. It has been beating for you every waking and sleeping moment of your existence, demanding nothing back. It is owed this care. A final, vital disclaimer before we go. Everything we have covered today is broad educational information grounded in modern data and my personal surgical experience. It is absolutely not a substitute for your individualized medical treatment. Under no circumstances should you abandon or lower any prescribed dosages without consulting your primary care provider. Take these concepts with you to your next checkup. Open up that dialogue. Your physician is your teammate in this journey, and these 5 interventions truly shine when they are paired with professional medical oversight.